I'll still never forget our first lunch. Remember that over at
Good Day?
The server that trying to find herself.
Yeah, what happened? Well, now we're recording. Now we're throwing it on.
Well, when we sat down and we were kind of going through our things, she came over. We weren't ready, and I think you turned and was like, "What if we just have you pick something?" Remember?
Oh, that's right. She was really confronted by like making a decision for us.
She had to leverage somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
and then I forget what she went with. Well, both of us described not being that hungry, and whatever it was pretty massive, but it was delicious.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we were getting to know her, and like this was kind of the holding pattern to figure out what's next. And then lo and behold, did a couple follow-ups, made a couple connections, and she landed. And it was just a good kind of full circle moment of we met, we serving us some food, and now she's moving on to her actual career.
It's kind of interesting that that's not too far off from one of the ideas I wanted to talk to you about, was this idea of where people are in their career. Are they in a job? Are they engaged? Do they care? And then your particular expertise about working with salespeople.
Yeah.
Are you just punching a clock, just throwing leads, whatever proposal, or are you actually engaged to build and do something? So we may touch on that. Two logistics things. One is I sent you a whole bunch of prompts. Mm-hmm. We can either stick to the script or we can just see where it goes. That's kind of your call.
However you want to go. I'm wherever the wind blows us, that makes sense. But prompts are good. I didn't spend a ton of time with it because I don't.
Great. That's fine. I follow my own agendas.
That's why I'm like, I'm not going to put too much into this, because it was kind of funny because Ryan Poles, the GM from the Bears, was the headliner today. And based upon his comments, you knew he had been very prepped for the questions that we could be asked. Even like one answer, he's like, I don't want to ruin your next question, so I'll pause there. It's like, yeah, I get for the venue and what you're trying to do, but there's just an element to authenticity wherever the conversation goes.
Do you get to a point where your company's big enough where you have to have that kind of prepped PR because you can't afford to misstep or be off brand?
That's a good question. I guess it's what are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to build? What is the culture that you are true to versus are you just true to building? I think there's a balance there because you have to bring a level of excellence. But I've seen leaders move up the ranks and hit a CEO platform that was completely in the trenches for the people. And then all of a sudden it's like a flip a switch and you're no longer the leader. Suddenly you're just the face. And I think that's where it gets a little bit dangerous from having people follow the lead when it's more of a celebrity than an actual leader. So I don't know, there's a lot of different layers to it, but from my experience, I think there is a balance that needs to take place. And if you ever get away from doing with, not for, never to, that's where some dangerous things happen.
Gabe, you ready?
Yep. Roll.
Yeah.
Today on CBC Talks, I'm joined by Erik Haugen, the founder of Prop Coaching and Consulting, based right here in Maple Grove.
Yeah.
Erik, you've built a name for yourself in the world of sales coaching by doing what most don't. You're cutting through the noise and helping sales professionals actually win. You're not like the echo chamber of repeating worn-out tactics that are out there. Those have been used for decades. You actually get in the trenches and help your sales teams navigate what sales really look like right now. And in the Twin Cities, it's flooded with job seekers and a shrinking patience from business owners. What would you add to that?
Well, I guess first and foremost, thank you for having me. It's fun to be here, and I appreciate the work you do and have seen it firsthand. So thank you for that. I think what I'd add to it is it's interesting in our landscape right now is finding the companies that are just trying to hold on versus the ones that are truly driven towards something. And when I think about that dynamic, and this is going to be applied to individuals too, whether it's the leader looking for the next opportunity, the job seeker in between things. Are you trying to hold on to something? You're trying to actually progress and run towards something. And for the purposes of what I do, it's really navigating to those going towards something and helping them see that, helping them drive towards it, and cut through the noise to make it easy to do and easy. I I always say if you're in a sales position, you do a lot of things, but ultimately your job is to make it easy for your customer or client to say yes to your product, service, solution today. Period. So if you're in my seat or if you're in a sales leader seat, your job is to do things and build tools and resources to equip and make it easy for your sales teams to make it easy for the customer to say yes.
Tell me about how that fits into a company that's lost its direction and it's not clear about what it's doing, why it's doing it, or the market is giving some feedback otherwise. Just go sell, right?
Just go sell.
Right? That's all it is.
Just go do more. Well, that's actually the mistake that most companies make. They think we just need to go more. We just need to do more. Well, if you're doing the same things and ramping up the volume and expecting a different result, isn't that kind of the definition of insanity?
I'm the visionary. I know what it needs. You just need to get out there and sell. People just don't want to work.
Yeah. So visionary. What is it that built this company up? What is it that you do that's so powerful and has actually built the demand and the excellence that you've brought forth to the marketplace to this day?
Well, we're all about customer service. Yeah. And, we can do that. And we use really good quality products. And, we're not the most expensive, but we're competitive.
Give me an example of that.
Okay. Well, now I got to break off that.
And that's where you get them, because they go through this talk track of telling you all the things that they feel like as the leader they need to say versus relating it back to story and the actual reasons they got into it in the first place, the impact they make. And it's amazing in that, some call it discovery. For me, it's just a curious concept. I love hearing about it. I love learning from it. And I love that aha that regrounds them in it. And it's when they find that purpose. It's when they find that engagement and the why they're doing it in the first place. More importantly, why it matters to those that they have the honor and ability to serve. That's where you start getting real with the path forward versus, well, we just got to go out and do it more. I need a real rainmaker.
Why it matters to the people we serve. Say more about that.
Yeah. Well, so Josh, if I told you that I have the perfect product, it is amazing. I've tested this product. It does what we say it's going to do every single time. Everybody that has it has been happy with it. Do you want to buy it?
Well, what is it?
Exactly.
Well, it's a pen.
It's a pen.
Everybody has a pen.
Everybody has a pen.
Why is it still?
Sell me this pen.
So it's got good reviews. Why is the pen still valuable?
Exactly. This pen doesn't have any value in and of itself unless you actually have a need for it that relates to an inspiration. Inspiration, emotion leads to action. And I think that's when we lose sight of the customer and their true needs and not just the surface. Like, I need to write. Well, so what? There's no depth. I need this widget. I think years ago somebody said, if you're working in a hardware store and somebody comes in and asks to buy a 1/2-inch drill bit, did they come to you to buy a 1/2-inch drill bit? No, they need a 1/2-inch hole. Who cares about the drill bit? It's the means to get them what they really want. It's taking those questions and leading with the curiosity in order to help really define what is that? Why does it matter? And that creates the actual motivation to say, is this the solution you're looking for? Can we scope it a little bit better? And when you think about the marketplace, especially some of the constraints we've seen over the last couple of years, your competition isn't a different company selling the same product or service. It's part of it.
But we do the same thing. What do you mean they're not my competition?
Well, your competition is much bigger than that. Competition is anywhere that you could be spending funds. I hear my mom's voice in my head. Well, if you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? Can't say yes to everything. Money doesn't grow on trees, Erik. It's those elements that when we step back and realize it's a much bigger picture than just, does my product outperform the competitor and can I sell it at a price that is worth it to the client? Is that the need versus something else? And so that's why, as much as we can get into X's and O's and what things do or don't do, you really have to think bigger and go deeper.
Erik, I don't understand. You are saying salespeople can't just be given the scripts and the tactics, and that's what makes the money flow?
Well, let me take a step back, because scripts and tactics and actually having process built off of winning behaviors, I think is very important. So I don't want to discredit. I think that is a foundational element of what we need. What I'm saying is, have you ever had a salesperson, or maybe you've been in a role where you come out of the gates or saw somebody come in out of the gates and they caught that new hire luck or new hire fire? You saw somebody just suddenly they are the golden child because they're hitting all their goals. They're outpacing everybody. It's like, oh my gosh, how do they do it? Well, from what I find, more often than not, that individual over the next 3-6 months, sometimes a year, dependent, will hit a slump. Where do you think the slump comes from?
They're bored. It's no longer fun. Salespeople are just a bunch of adrenaline jockeys, Erik. This was the new shiny thing for them to go out and hit the market with, right? They just got lucky and they had the right energy at the right time, right?
Well, that's an assumption we often see. As I dig into it, what I find is when somebody comes out of the gate strong, it's because they don't know enough about the product, service, or solution to get in their way. So what do they focus on? The person in front of them. If I don't know all the details about how this widget or how this service works and all the different, tests and research and all the numbers that back it up, all I can do is focus on the person in front of me, their needs, and create connection. Now, the risk is, as we onboard and train people, we lean into that in the beginning, and then we equip them with all of the knowledge and the case studies and all the details from customer service and trials we've done. And we really equip them right now. We train the heck out of them on us. Well, at the end of the day, it's not about us. It's not about our product. And so in those, 3-6 month marks, sometimes a little bit later, we hear a problem. We're so excited because we know the answer. It's like the kid in class that kind of sits in the back, but finally knows the answer and the question starts, they blurt it out, right? It happens in the interaction. And unfortunately, when you think about people buying from people they know, like, and trust, and needing to be grounded in what matters most in the inspiration, we jump way ahead into the technical, creates confusion. And when we do it, it's going to leave the client or prospect in front of us with a lot to think about.
Erik, I don't understand. You're making comments like our salespeople need to be therapists that are, really getting into their people's lives, and we're doing the touchy-feely thing to find out, what else might be going on in their world.
Yeah.
I don't know if my sales teams can afford that. They don't have that time. I need them to make money.
Well, I'd lean towards, I don't think you can afford not to do it.
Why?
Well, when you think about your customer base, and I will use it with a grain of salt, it applies differently from buying styles. And there's a whole slew of conversation we can get into that, of how to identify and how to know kind of that platinum rule approach of not everybody wants to buy the way Erik wants to. So we can go down all those elements, but in this day and age, there is so much access to information at our fingertips. So the amount of research that happens prior to our interaction and the ability to get bids and understand what's out there fully beyond where it's been even 3, 4, 5 years ago. So what does that mean though? They're accessing the information on what they're talking to me about. They're also doing it on what's over there, and there's so much noise. People still buy from people though. They buy from people they know, like, and trust. So by taking that moment, and the realization is that discovery or that initial interaction, old school sales says that discovery is so important because I need to know about you, Josh. I need to know about what are your pain points. I need to know all those things so I can close you, right?
That sounds very tactical.
Very tactical, common. Very common. It's also very selfish, and like integrated, emotional aware business owner leader is going to sniff through that BS. When a salesperson takes discovery on behalf of the customer that's in front of them to help them discover why they're talking to you in the first place, that's where the magic happens. Because then they're truly in tune and they're motivated, and that inspiration or motivation becomes the fuel to take them through gathering information. Reasoning is the benefit worth the cost, and leading to the actual purchase where we can make a difference for them.
So one of the questions that we talk to our groups, our owners about all the time is like, can you replicate it? Can it be duplicated?
Yeah.
So how do you go about possibly teaching a group of 3 to 5 or 25 sales reps how to possibly treat a customer like that?
It's a really good question. I mentioned before the scripts and the structure matter. I used to hate scripts. I came out of the gates as a salesperson 15, 20 years ago. You try to give me this huge, I use the indicator when I was a headhunter. They gave us this, what do we call it? A needs analysis profile. We call it a nap. And if you read it, you'd want to take a nap, because it was 4 or 5 pages of questions that the managing partner, who was in hindsight a phenomenal sales trainer, would tell me, Eric, you got to be able to get all of these things. These are so important. I had all the different colleagues, the other headhunters that were experienced. So, you don't need this. You can move a lot quicker. And I treated it as a script and a checklist, and I kind of went through, and it was very transactional and robotic, until I was at a point where I was working off a draw. The draw was getting pretty deep. I wasn't really closing at the rate that I wanted. I wasn't making the money I wanted. And I said, okay, I'm going to take time to learn this and to watch and observe the people that are doing things well, take them for myself, and then implement it. But I'm going to do it the way that it's been laid out. I'm going to get so good at the script that it's not scripted anymore, that it becomes actual my voice versus da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I think that's an evolution. And for certain companies, the culture within sales can become toxic, because you could have that rainmaker that comes in and throws the script out the window, and they're just doing it, right? As a sales leader, do you want a person that just brings in money for a time period and you don't know why? Do you want that person to come in and hit a slump and all of a sudden the business is not there and you don't know why? Or would you prefer to actually take the time to identify what are the winning behaviors, what are the words and phrases and questions that resonate with your client base, creates that moment? It's the old school song, things that make you go, Those moments, you know when they happen, but it takes being very aware, very real, because on the other side of the coin are those questions or words or phrases that has the customer go, If we're in tune with those and we're real with ourselves, we're actually able to build something that makes sense and makes it a lot easier to make it easy for your customers to buy today.
So if some of the folks who are going to be listening to this run companies, they've got a couple sales teams. They might have 5, 10, 25 reps that work for them. There's probably going to be some folks who are not willing to go there.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a brand and a product that still has relevance in the market, which we're just going to leave that alone for a second about what the market is giving us feedback for. What do I do with my team if people are not willing to get on to this style of engagement?
I think A, really good question. B, really loaded question. The context, I think, is going to be key. When you have a business leader who has taken the time to really establish that vision for the future, and it's not just, I need to sell today.
I want more money. We should be a $25 million company.
We should.
That's our vision.
But we've been a $12 million company for the last 10 years. So I'm just going to hire more people and we're going to become that.
That's why I'm hiring you, Eric. You just make my salespeople. Make us $25 million.
Hey, Eric, you're really good at this. Could you just sell for us too?
Yeah, there we go. That's the magic sauce, right?
Yeah, you just need me to be your sales rep.
Yes, nailed it. Got it. All right, so you're for hire.
No. I think that's the realization in all of this. I'm not for hire. And in fact, if you were to hire me, would I do a good job? Most likely. I'm not a person that backs down from a challenge. And I've been very fortunate to have a background and experience of connecting with people that make those connections. I won't say easy, but have a path for it. But hiring a rainmaker doesn't scale you. It gets you a little bit here. And what I found with rainmakers, or unicorns, we used to call them when I was back in my recruiting days, is they're typically found by others before you. And in order to steal them, you're going to have to pay them top dollar. And guess what? You're going to have to keep them motivated, because there's always somebody else ready to take them.
So you've introduced two elements to this. One is like, how do you keep productive salespeople?
Yeah.
That sounds like you're pushing a lot of upward jamming into the business leader or that visionary who's saying, make the rain happen, make the money happen.
Yeah.
Why should a salesperson work for someone like that? What the heck is the point?
It's a good question, because what the heck is the point? When you think about what we do on a sales side for our prospective client, we also need to understand that we need to do the same thing for our team members, for our employees, for our sales reps. I need to know what Josh wants. I need to know what gets Josh out of bed in the morning. I need to know, is he motivated by shout outs and ringing a cowbell? Is he motivated by commission checks? Hopefully. Is he motivated by seeing that customer thrive and come back to you with a story of that impact you've made? And then I need to look and see, what is our structure? But more importantly, I need to understand, like, is that the person that applies to the culture that I'm trying to build based upon the vision and the intention I've set as the business leader?
So what if I run a company and that makes me uncomfortable? I don't talk to my employees about that. We work with a lot of older business owners who that's not how we were raised. 70s, 80s, 90s. Like,
sounds like a radio station.
Yeah. That one caught me.
You got you. 70s.
You got me
today.
And
sorry.
Today. I'm not used to having that kind of relationship with my team. Yeah. So Erik, you're going to come in and change my whole culture? That's uncomfortable, man. Why should we go down this path?
Again, it depends on what they want to drive towards. And the why is important here, Josh, because if your goal is just to make a few more sales, well, you can turn up some marketing, you can pull some levers, you can do that, but it's more finite. If your goal is to build something that's scalable and sustainable, there's a whole lot more parts and pieces to that are going to be important in that building phase.
So one of the things that comes up quite a bit in our conversations with our leaders, and frankly in the conversations we're having with these, is that the visionaries are often the idea guys.
Yeah.
That's good enough, right? There's something going on in small business right now where those visionaries are taking a lot of upward pressure, and employees, the good ones, are getting to choose who they work for.
Yep.
So how do we advocate for those idea guys, men and women, who are in that number one seat to determine the future of the company, but it's not good enough anymore?
Yeah.
What do we do for them?
It's a good question. I think it also depends on what is their size and scale and vision for future. I think about a couple of clients I work with and those that I've worked with in the past. Some of them come in as that visionary. They've built something amazing, and they're realizing that in order to take it to the next level, they need to move from that doer into the leader. I almost said just the leader. It's not just the leader. There's a book called The Leadership Pipeline, actually, that helps navigate. It was a mind shift for me, making that step from corporate individual contributor into that next level leader, and so on and so forth. But realizing that if you are making that leap, you actually can't make the number of decisions that you used to do.
Well, but my team doesn't know what to do. So I have to make those decisions.
In your current state, you have to.
What do you mean?
If your goal and your vision If you're at 12 million and your goal and your vision is to move and elevate to 25, are the behaviors and structures that got you to 12 going to do it? Yes or no?
Well, if I found the right salespeople, they could do it.
Okay, there's an if. What does that if depend on?
Finding the right salespeople.
Okay, what's the track record on that? When was the last time you did that?
Oh, lots of turnover in salespeople.
Okay,
Nobody wants to work anymore, Eric.
Nobody wants to work, so it's a them issue. Okay, so what are you finding about they that don't want to work?
People just want to get paid too much, and they don't understand how business works.
Okay, so give me an example of a success story where you've pulled somebody in that actually wants to work.
I'm wrestling with role-playing, advocating for someone who's stuck and advocating for, but I don't want to change my business. And I'm uncomfortable because change is difficult. And I don't know how to get us through this. And I feel like my answer is I go hire another salesperson, right? How do I determine, and what do I do when I realize like I might be the reason the company is no longer moving forward? Eric, how am I going to wrestle with that really tough consideration?
I think that's where the discovery is important. And that's oftentimes when you're working with a client, the determining factor to say, can I support you or are you supportable? There's some great business out there that have built something amazing. And it will continue, say it's at that $12 million level and they're flowing with it, and they can continue with it. Absolutely. However, if they're not willing to take those steps to either elevate themselves and bring in and develop the right people that they can trust, that they can hand things off to, that they can leverage to make that impact on their behalf. What's the status? As a small business owner, if you can find somebody that can do a task for you at 80% of what you're worth paying for, right? And it plays out so often. But if you're still holding on because of what you've done without the vision for where you want to be and what is that intention. When I say intention, it's goals are interesting because you can set a goal and like either I did it or didn't. Versus an intention is something that I intend to do this. 1 year from now, we are, our business is, I'm claiming it's the old fake it till you make it or manifest that mentality. But there's power to it because when you put that intention in mind, it allows you to reverse engineer. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to need this. If I'm going to need this to get there, it's going to take this. In order to do this, it's going to need this. Do we have the right people for that? Am I equipped for that? Do I have the capacity for it and the will and want to? Holy crap. Think about business owners who have built something, the amount of effort they've put in to scale to where they are today. We have to honor that and get excited about that. And oftentimes when we get the pushback from that business owner, they have had the lumps and bumps and bruises to get where they want to go. And they're thinking in the back of their head, do I have it in me to do it again? It's a lot of work.
Eric. I don't want to think 3 to 4 quarters out. I don't want to think about the org structure. I don't want to think about our marketing message. I'm tired. How do I possibly, Eric, you're supposed to be my sales guy, my sales consultant. You're supposed to just help the money come, right?
Well, Josh, if I came in here and helped the money came, that would only be good as long as I'm here and I'm doing it.
So let's dig into where you then are a really good fit. There's going to be a host of folks listening to this that they're checking you out specifically. They want to know if Eric is the real deal. And you've done a tremendous job coming in and speaking with some of our groups now a couple times, and you make a tremendous contribution to them. So
thank you.
Anyone who's watching is going to see our org chart. You've seen this before, but this discussion around specifically the top of funnel world when it comes to how do I take the marketing, the opportunities, the little things that come in, the networking, the meta great connection. Now I've got to take it through to bring this person into a contract because we actually are the best fit, the right fit, and right now to do work for them. Where do you come in? Where are you a best fit with someone who's assessing that for their company?
Well, thank you for the compliment. You bring together great teams and facilitate amazing conversations and accountability. So I appreciate just that vote of confidence in our interactions and where you've allowed me to come and take time with your teams. I really appreciate that. When I think about where I fit in that right spot, kind of in the EOS world, right person, right seat, I come in from that sales and revenue enablement strategy piece. It's helping to identify what's been, what is, as well as where it's going. And the way I'd frame it up is for any client interaction, before we get to moving forward, it's really that clarity session to understand what is that vision moving forward. If we don't know where we're going, how are we going to take those next steps? If it's hey, let's just make more money, well, great. To what available? And what does good look like? It's the question of, okay, you're looking to achieve X. Well, when you've achieved X, what will you have? What will that give you? What will it mean? Is there meaning even attached to it? Or was it just a number thrown out because it would be sweet if we hit this number? It's diving in and asking those questions. And I think where I fit is as that, curious consultant. I don't come with assumptions or answers. I come with experience and my nerdiness within the sales and leadership development space to then come and ask questions and understand and essentially work the sales leader through where is it that you want to be? What's preventing you from getting there? And then really diving deep to understand what's gotten you here. What are you really good at? And identifying the gaps. It's funny, you mentioned top of funnel. I can't tell you the number of clients that come in and they've got great dashboards at the deal level. Mm-hmm. They can see after discoveries happen and when the deal comes and when it's going and the proposal and how many dollars and time and conversion rates. They have all this information here and they're flying blind from all the top of funnel. Well, if I know I need to get to this number and it's going to take this number of proposals, this number of discoveries and right? Mm-hmm. Well, I can get really mad or really excited based upon if those things are happening. But all of a sudden you hit a gap where those discoveries or intro calls are low. Well, we need more of them. What are you doing? What's marketing doing? What's the website doing? What's the traffic? Where's our optimization? What's Google ad clicks? We can get mad at all those things, but if we're not, I had a leader years ago say, the things that are inspected bring action. The things that are inspected bring action. And when it comes to the sales funnel, we get so concerned with the bottom of the funnel and the dollars either making sense or not. We have a hard time telling the story of why it is or isn't happening.
So if anyone listening to this is saying, there might be some semblance of this at my company. We might have lost touch with our voice of our customer. Yep. We're not clear anymore. Where would you start someone that would put them in a better position for if they're going to have a conversation with you? What would you suggest they do first?
That's a good question. I think if they have an idea of where they want to go, well, being honest with themselves of where they are and how they've gotten there, I think that's a big first step versus just having a conversation for having a conversation. There has to be some sort of motivator, whether it's we've been stuck at this level. I know that there's a ability in the marketplace. There's business out there for us, or I've built this great business and I'm looking for my exit strategy in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, but there's no valuation for my business without me in this seat. Oh crap. How do I actually build the structure in the background so that I can lead to this and actually have something that is acquirable? It's asking yourself, what is the motivation for those? Now, as far as conversations with me, it's usually pretty straightforward to understand if that exists or not, and where we take that path to understand. Perfect scenario, client comes in, they understand where they are, they understand how they've gotten there, they understand their customer, what the voice of customer is saying, where their strengths are, where their opportunities are. But I got to be honest, that perfect scenario doesn't come into play a lot. And so in an absence of that, it's coming in with the openness to understand that they're limited currently, they want to move forward, and they want to have an open and honest conversation about it.
So as I hear this, what you're telling me is there's a couple components of it. There's what the market's feedback is, the voice of the customer. Either we want it, we don't want it. We're saturated in the market. You're no longer able to differentiate because you're a commodity service of whatever's there. Then we're going to take the sales conversion engine of whatever opportunities do come in. Then you're also talking about, what is my infrastructure, business, or system actually set up to do currently? And do we have a target that is aligned with, we can build a system that is properly aligned with what the market's feedback is. And that sales engine is just the thing in the middle. If I was listening to this right now, I might get a little nervous about, oh crap, I'm a visionary, right? Right.
Yeah.
That means I'm supposed to know this stuff.
Yeah.
How do I have any sort of the courage or to know that what if my market is no longer there? Erik, I know I want more sales. I know I need my conversion engine ready.
Yeah.
I'm struggling right now to articulate what I want for my company, what I want to do out here. And I don't know if the market has it.
Yeah.
Now what?
Well, I think the encouraging thing in that situation is you actually do know. The truth exists within that leader. It's that no matter how long I'm with a client, I'm not going to know as much about their business as they did building it. It's about knowing versus being aware. I think there's a big differentiator. Like, I know a lot of stuff. Am I aware of that? I know I should have gotten up and gone to my 5:30 burn workout class.
You skipped it again, didn't you?
I did skip it again.
Erik, come on.
I drove to Waterloo for a hockey game on Tuesday night. That's a whole different story. But am I aware of, like, I know I should go, but am I aware? Where do I leave that awareness in the back of my brain? And so I just want to start by giving the leader credit that they know more than they really are giving themselves credit for. There's an element of fear. I've adopted a term from a song, I don't know, a few years back. Fear is a liar. And fear is a liar has been a catalyst for me in those moments to take a step back and say, am I hesitant because of fear or facts? If it's fear, chuck it out the window. Let's get rid of that crap. Let's figure out and dial down to what's really going on here so that we can make more of that intelligent. Your comment about, like, working with clients, working with customers, I don't have time for this counseling session. Well, I'd argue you don't have time not to, because when you take the time early on to focus what's important, there's less urgent moving forward.
What's important to me as the sales rep, right? I need to hit my numbers. That's what's most important.
Okay. Well,
right?
How do you do that?
My intention behind that was that you'd flip it, and that most salespeople are focused on their own numbers and their own script and their own agenda, as opposed to what's the feedback from the person across from me.
Yeah.
If there was one takeaway that someone could have from listening to this, how do you get them focused over there?
I love looking back, and I'm a big sports nut. So anybody that's out there isn't a sports person or hates when people use sports analogies, I apologize, but I'm still going to do it. So sorry, not sorry. I heard a quote years ago of, what is the difference between an amateur and a professional? Have you heard this before?
Mm-mm.
Okay, the difference between an amateur and professional. An amateur will practice and train until they get it right, and then they go, right? got it right. I can do a layup. Great. Let's go play a game. And you can get me in a whole conversation about AAU and youth development and how we went from all these practices to one game to a couple practices and tournaments every weekend. So don't get me started on that system. So an amateur practices until they get something right and then they go do. Versus a professional practices until they can't get it wrong. You see the difference there?
Mm-hmm.
The intentionality, and the key word here is discipline. Are you practicing to get it right or get it right? Because there's a difference there too. And then going practicing some more on the customer in front of you? Or are you practicing until you get it right and then getting the reps? Oh, I don't know how I have time. I have a zillion things going on. I have all these tasks. I can't do that. Well, if you're being honest with yourself, if you're onboarding into a new role, or if we're changing the structure and moving towards, you've got time. Where you don't have time is when you've done all of these things and you've taken time to focus on what's important today versus just what's urgent. Because urgency may solve a problem in the moment, but it doesn't bring the longevity the way what's important does.
So let's demystify something.
Yeah.
A lot of people think there's a certain type of salesperson. And there's a lot of people who won't go into business development roles and they won't go into that kind of role because they think salespeople are a certain way.
Yeah.
Where would you color that differently?
Oh, man. First off, I've never heard anybody say that before. So this is brand new to me. That comes up in all elements, B2B, B2C, SaaS, med device. I kind of spreads the gamut of, well, I'm not a salesperson. I don't want to sell. Sometimes salespeople are the worst salespeople because nobody wants to be sold. But people want their problems to be solved. They want to find solutions, and people love to buy when it's right. So to that question, I don't play to this salesperson is a killer salesperson. They're going to be successful in everything they do. This is the profile I want. Only hire people with this amount of experience and talent. I think, oh my gosh, I just saw on LinkedIn, the Ultimate Connector, there was a guy that I helped hire 10 years ago with a retailer I worked with at the time. I was in recruiting. This is before I moved over into sales training and optimization. And it was hired for a sales role. I never forget when he came across my desk. His background was coming out of college. He was a bartender in Wisconsin. He wanted to move back to Minnesota. He was going to work in a store in like Woodbury, but he was going to be commuting from his grandma's house in Buffalo. Sounds like a real A player, right? And I have always joked with him like, yeah, we took a real chance on you. It was one of those moments where the way the application came in was like, bartender, huh? Just graduated school, had a couple internships. Like he was active. You could see this progression going on, but he had never found his niche. So I called him. We had a conversation and was like, this person has an intellectual curiosity that is going to resonate with the customer base. He's an easy, natural connector. He gave me great examples of his drive and ability to achieve throughout school, throughout bartending, even the way he looks at the world. He's going to be worth talking to. Well, interestingly enough, the opening that we had here in the Twin Cities was one of our higher end premier stores in an area that is oftenly associated with cake. I won't name cities. And the store manager, I remember reaching out to and sending the background, and it was a hard no. I didn't even want to talk with this guy. It was, nope, this does not fit the profile of this store. Erik, do better. And I remember picking up the phone and calling him and say, hey, there's something about this kid that is worth talking to. And I know you're the expert in this space. This is your decision. I really think it's worth having a conversation. So the store manager said, hey, what does it hurt? Well, fast forward to today, he's been there 10 years. He's elevated, President's Circle winner multiple times. And is that person that is a great example of no formal training experience, coming into an environment that is pretty tight and you had to know what you were doing. But he did it because he was curious, he was engaged, and he cared. And to me, that is the differentiator. When you are able to identify who that is and what they do, and yes, they've got to meet the numbers at the end of the day. It's not about what you do, it's how you do it. It's the Maya Angelou quote: people will forget what you say or what you do, but they're never going to forget the way you made them feel.
Erik, people listening are going to probably have some questions or curiosities. You're probably going to get some people who say, man, do you know any sales teams like that I could go work with? Because I'm struggling to, be aligned with my company's vision or lack of it.
Yeah.
What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, online, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Erik with a K, E-R-I-K, propcoachingandconsulting.com. I am finding when you choose a URL, the longer it is, the easier it is. No, it's not. There's that. But propcoachingandconsulting.com, there's a link there to email me. You can also email me directly, Erik, E-R-I-K, at propcoachingandconsulting.com.
And Erik, one of the questions we always finish with is, what should I be asking you?
Oh, what should you be asking me? I mean, I don't know the winning lottery numbers for tonight. I don't know where the gold is buried. I mean, at the end of the...
What do you think makes your secret sauce? What sets you apart from all the other sales coaches, consultants out there that are all hanging shingles, banging their drum, slinging business cards? Why are you different?
Because I don't know it all. And I lean into curiosity to help draw out the truth that you've already established and the skills and the winning behaviors that you've built towards something pretty incredible in your business. And I honor that and leverage that as the foundation. Yeah, somebody put it well recently. I'm the curious simplifier. I was like, what does that mean? And they explained, I said, you came into my world and I expected to hire you and you to come and give me answers. And the first few interactions, you just asked me questions and took notes and kept jotting down. And all of a sudden came back and said, what I hear you say is, and you explained what took me an hour to really drop on you in such a bite-sized mini talk way that blew my mind. Thank you. So it's that curious simplification. From my L&D days, I always say two things. You have to build with and not for and never to. Nobody wants structure or training just to be done to them. They actually want to take part in it. And then number two, if you can't explain it effectively to a fourth grader, it's too complex. You have to make it easy. It all goes back to the point in the beginning. If your sales team's role, simplified, is to make it easy for your customer or a prospective client to say yes to your product, solution, or service today, you as the leader need to build and do things and set up the structures and the training and development to make it easy for them, to make it easy for the customer.
Erik, you're one of the easiest people to refer to any of the owners that sit in our groups and any of the sales leaders, revenue leaders that we work with. So thank you for being a contribution to what CBC does. Thank you for coming to speak today on CBC Talks.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Damn, it's hot.